Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the Soviet La-15 sitting at 8.0 battle rating. A good old classics that we all will not forget for the first times that we flew this plane. Very unforgiving plane. A plane that you were shocked by once you flew it for the first time. This plane can rip in a straight line. It can rip when you pull too many G's. It is definitely not a plane that is very forgiving or easygoing. It is definitely not. That's why for beginning pilots the La-15 might be a bit of a hassle, too much to handle, especially in the beginning as you come into jets. This is a difficult plane to fly, without a doubt. I had my own experiences in this thing when I started out, and they were not good, let me tell you. But lately I've been flying this plane for the rank review, of course, and I had a shit ton of fun in it. And that is because, of course, I have gotten shit tons more experience over the years and am now capable of flying this plane, which is interesting. It is definitely an interesting plane when it comes to that. Very unforgiving, but definitely a challenge, and it can be fun, as I said. Now, before we go into the details, since recently I am also on Rumble and on Locals, links to that will be in the description below. I haven't finished stuff yet on those two sites for the setup and stuff like that, but you can already join me there if you want to. Locals will be the hub where I will, share more, but I will go into that in a separate video. It will also be the site where you can support me if you want to. And Rumble will be my backup site for if YouTube decides that I am spreading too much wrong thing, let's say. So there is that as well to take into account. Somebody convinced me that it's a better idea to have a second site where I have my stuff on and where you can find me, because YouTube is definitely going the censorship route, and that is not something we want, but it is what it is, right? Yeah, and for the rest, if you like this video anywhere along the line, do give it a thumbs up. A comment is always appreciated, and if you're not subscribed yet, hey man, what are you waiting for? This is an awesome channel, if I say so myself. Guys, let's go into the details. The maximum speed in this plane is 960 kilometers an hour at sea level, with or without the war emergency power. This plane does not have an afterburner. It does not have a radar either, but no afterburner. It does have the 112% optimized engine thingy. But this plane doesn't go beyond 960 because that is the rip speed actually, and you can already reach that at sea level in a straight line without a problem. So yeah, there is that. Now at 4500 meters still go up to 803 without the web and 813 with, and finally at 6500 meters you can take this plane to 717 without and 724 with. Now that is not a big differences with that optimized engine thingy that many of these Russian planes have, but it's a little bit more, right? So hey, we can't complain there. Top speed in a dive is 889 kilometers an hour before she redlines, and 960 before she rips apart. Now that is terribly low for a jet, as you know. This is not a fast plane by any stretch of the imagination. She's not fast, it's very slow. And it sits at 8.0, so in up tiers in 9.0 this is just one of the slowest plane on the field basically, and you're gonna have to work with that. So you're gonna be like an I-16 in the lower battle ratings, right? Just slow, and you gotta lure people in to do some turning with you if you can. But yeah, the plane can rip in a straight line already, so be careful of that as well, especially on the lower altitudes where she can reach the 960 easily. Control stiffening in this plane starts at 700, and there's a second tick in the aileron compression at 800. The elevator compression never becomes bad enough so that you are in trouble at the higher speeds. Of course there's a little bit of it, but nothing terrible. Stall speed in the vertical is 140 kilometers an hour. That's decent, nothing more than that. The firepower is very good in the plane. You have 3 23mm NR-23 cannons with 100 rounds per gun. That ammo load is average in jets. I mean 100 is alright, but it's nothing to write home about. There's many planes with more ammo. I used air targets, which has 75% fragmentation incendiary shells. The default belt is also viable with 50% fragmentation and 50% API. Then you have the stealth belt, which is 100% API, and the armored belt that is 75% API and 25% fragmentation incendiary. So if you want the armored piercing, you are better off with stealth, and if you want a little bit of a combo, you can have the default belt. I would use air targets for air RB. I think it's the best. Now, no bombs, no rockets on this plane, no nothing for close air support, so that is not a role this plane can fill. It is just purely a little fighter jet, and it is fun to fly at that. Let's say that. The acceleration in this plane in a straight line is decent to good. In a dive it's good. You have very good energy retention in the horizontal. In the vertical it's decent. You do lose some speed in the vertical and in turning, especially using flaps. The air brake that the plane has does not work very well for slowing the plane down. It just does not slow down like some other air brakes might, so you do not have the most effective air brake there. Of course it does something, but it's far from my favorite. The climb rate in this plane is decent. You have a turn time that is good, very good with flaps. The flaps only rip off at 610, so there is that. You can use the flaps quite often in this plane as it's not that fast, right? But it does slow the plane down, and although the acceleration is quite good, but you still have to be careful there that you don't lose too much speed in jet gameplay, right? We all know that it's you have to be paying attention there, so I would use the flaps sparingly in this plane for that reason. Roll rate is very good, and that makes the overall maneuverability very good in this plane as well. That roll rate, actually, when you start with that very good roll rate and with those low compression ticks on the ailerons, this plane is actually quite effective in the dives that it can make, because it can make dives, of course, but you have a very early stop to where you need to pull out of the dive with the limited top speed of this thing and the rippage that can happen. So you have short boom and zoom runs, but I would actually qualify this plane as an energy fighter or a turn fighter. It is not a boom and zoomer, that is for sure. You cannot make your living in this plane as a boom and zoom plane. Overheating in this plane is present with the war emergency power. It runs up easily, but it also cools off easily, so it's manageable in this plane, not an issue. Durability in the plane is decent. It can take a hit or two, it can take a bit of damage. Seems sturdy enough when it comes to that. It has a good forward-facing bulletproof glass, and does have some protection for the pilot in the front. So it is also a plane that has a very small profile. It's one of the smaller jets on the runway, and well, that is of course always an advantage, because it's difficult to hit you, and the more difficult it is to hit you, the longer you will survive. So yeah, that small profile is definitely an upside to this plane when it comes to survivability. The durability is as well, and yeah, I quite like this little bugger when it comes to that. Repair cost in this plane is 10,693 Silver Lions, which is it is a quite low repair cost when it goes for in comparison to other planes at 8.0 beta rating. It is actually one of the best, and that is, I think, because of its unforgiving nature. Gaijin in its results will see that this plane does less well than other planes at 8.0, and thus the repair cost is lower. It's always like that with Gaijin, and well, it is what it is. The rewards in this plane: 416% research point multiplier and a 465% Silver Lion multiplier. The research point is above average, and that is alright, 416, and the Silver Lion multiplier is actually good. It is one of the better ones at 8.0, so yeah, you do get serious rewards in this plane, and if you are a more experienced pilot, that might be one of the reasons why you would want to focus on the La-15. It is a worthy plane when it comes to that at 8.0. Now, as I said, this plane is a turn fighter mainly, and it can also energy fight quite well. So those two roles it can fill. Of course, you can also make short boom and zoom runs, but for jet speeds, this plane is ridiculously slow at 8.0, and is ridiculously dangerous at early speeds already when it comes to high G wing rips. So you definitely have to fly this plane very carefully. If you do that though, and you get used to her, you'll soon start to notice that you can actually rack in the kills with this plane, because there is too many pilots these days that have gone through easy or small tech trees to get to jets and are flying with very limited experience in jets. And even a pilot like me that prefers props and has not touched jets seriously for a long time can wreak havoc and pull in the kills. I still make my mistakes, but the more I get into jets, the more those mistakes will disappear. And man, if you really fly a lot of jets, I think this plane is wonderful for you. Will do great for you to unlock a large piece of the Soviet tree and get some good results in. That is my conviction, and I have no doubt that people can manage to get great scores in this thing. Anyway, yeah, so definitely a plane that does not have a lot of versatility outside of air RB. I mean, for ground RB, it just doesn't have the gear for it. It doesn't have any ordnance. It is a plane that only has its guns for armament, and doesn't have any rockets, any bombs, anything that you can take into ground RB. Of course, you can use it in ground RB. Why not, as a fighter? You will have a lot of fun there, most likely, shooting all the planes down if that's what you want. But I think you would be flying air RB if that was the goal, right? That is probably not the goal that most people will fly this plane for. So yeah, not a thing, I would say, not a thing. But yeah, man, I was surprised by this plane's performance in my present day hands, let's say. My first experience in this plane was really awful, and it is very difficult to shake a first experience in a plane, even though of course you know that you gained a lot of experience over the years that you haven't touched this plane. I was surprised by how much that the difference was, let's say. So yeah, let's make it a crash. That still happens sometimes. Let's have a look at the results for that 3-kill match. We got 45,000 Silver Lions and more than 12,000 research points. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. The La-15 is a very interesting plane, and I was pleasantly surprised by it after my first experiences in this plane years and years ago that were terrible. I now have the skills apparently to handle this plane much better. I grew in over the years. Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. But the La-15, unforgiving plane, difficult, is definitely not the most easy plane at rank 5 Soviets. It is a skill-based plane that you need to have some experience in jets to get this plane to perform for you. But once you do, it can be a very nice plane. It can be a challenge and a good bit of fun to fly this plane. So yeah, I cannot recommend it for the beginning pilots, but for the more advanced pilots among us, I'll definitely say give the La-15 another visit. If you haven't touched the plane in a long time, it can definitely be a plane that is a lot of fun. Yeah guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.